Tim Parlatore, former attorney for President Trump in the Mar-a-Lago documents investigation, along with Ty Cobb, former Trump White House lawyer. So thanks very much to both of you. And I'm so glad to have you both here in person. I know there's a lot you agree on and some you disagree. And I want to give people a chance to think through this carefully. So, Tim, you've had the weekend to really read through this again and again and again. Because you were on the inside, and you know more from that side as an attorney who had been part of this case than almost anyone, you and Evan Corcoran. How strong is the government case here?
A lot of it's going to come down to how much of what is in the indictment do they have backup for. And, when I read it through, I see, there's certainly parts of that I do think are not as strong. The two pieces of it that give me a little bit of pause are the exchanges between the president and Walt Nauta regarding the movement of boxes.
Here's what happened. On the morning of February 23rd, 2026, Donald Trump walked into a New York courtroom believing his long-standing immunity strategy would finally protect him from mounting legal trouble. For months, his legal team had focused heavily on one central argument, that as president, he could not be prosecuted. That claim had become their cornerstone defense, the shield they believed would block every charge against him. They filed motions, submitted briefs, and built their entire strategy around the idea of presidential immunity. The message was simple: official acts should not be subject to criminal prosecution. They were fully committed to that argument. However, legal experts began raising doubts. Tim Parlatore, a former Trump attorney, reviewed the case and noted that the government's strength would depend heavily on the quality of its evidence. He suggested that some aspects of the indictment might be weaker than expected, particularly communications involving Trump and Walt Nauta about the movement of boxes. Those exchanges raised legal questions, but the full picture remained unclear. Still, uncertainty surrounded the defense. If prosecutors truly possessed the evidence they claimed, especially video footage, it could present a serious challenge for Trump's legal team.
Which, again, if they actually have all the video and everything that they claim to back that up, that's going to be a tremendous hurdle. The other thing is the exchanges with the employee of the PAC about, the map.
Right, dissemination.
Correct. That's going to be potentially problematic because so that's something that's also going to be problematic, and we're going to have to find out a lot more about it.
And I should be clear on that when they talk about that exchange with there's a lot of quotes in here.
Yeah.
Right. There are a lot of quotes of what he said. Now, Ty, interesting. Bill Barr is joining you. He's saying, he's toast. You've said before this even happened that he would be a dead man.
The situation grew even more complicated when discussions surfaced involving an employee and the handling of sensitive materials. If prosecutors can substantiate those claims, the defense could face significant difficulty in countering them. Former Attorney General Bill Barr weighed in publicly, stating bluntly that Trump's legal position appeared extremely weak. Even before the courtroom proceedings began, Barr suggested that the immunity argument would not hold up under scrutiny. Then came the turning point. The judge firmly rejected Trump's immunity defense, ruling that presidential status does not place someone above the law. It was a decisive moment. The court made clear that immunity does not extend to unofficial actions, particularly those involving falsified financial records or personal conduct unrelated to official duties. Tensions escalated inside the courtroom. Reports indicate that Trump reacted angrily to the ruling, prompting the judge to warn him multiple times to maintain order. Eventually, after continued disruption, he was removed from the courtroom. The moment quickly went viral, spreading across social media platforms within hours. The timing made the situation even more dramatic, occurring just hours before his scheduled State of the Union address. Instead of headlines focused on policy and leadership, media coverage centered on courtroom conflict and legal uncertainty. Prosecutors, led by Alvin Bragg, reiterated a central principle: no president is above the law. They referenced documented evidence, witness testimony, and alleged falsified records as the foundation of their case. The trial is scheduled for March 2026, placing a historic legal confrontation just weeks away. This marks unprecedented territory, a sitting president facing criminal prosecution while still in office. The implications extend beyond legal arguments, touching on constitutional questions and political consequences. The court's ruling also clarified a key point many misunderstand. Presidential immunity is not absolute. The judge distinguished between official presidential acts and personal conduct. Actions tied to alleged financial falsification and campaign-related matters from 2016 fall outside protected presidential duties. That distinction significantly weakens the blanket immunity defense. Meanwhile, political reactions are intensifying. Some legal analysts are discussing potential constitutional implications, while divisions within the Republican Party appear to be growing over how to respond. Whether this becomes a defining political turning point remains to be seen. But one thing is clear. The immunity argument that once appeared to be Trump's strongest shield has now been seriously challenged in court. What many people overlooked was that prosecutors in Georgia were limited by jurisdictional constraints. At the time, they could not pursue a criminal case against a sitting president. It was a calculated legal pause, not an exoneration. The evidence did not disappear, and the alleged violations did not vanish. It simply meant action could not be taken at that moment. That case still exists in the background, waiting. Now in New York, District Attorney Alvin Bragg is moving forward without hesitation. He initially brought these charges during Trump's first term, but they were overshadowed by election turmoil and the January 6th investigations. Bragg maintained that the case was strong, and now he has returned with additional witnesses, stronger documentation, and extensive evidence prepared for trial. 34 felony counts. That number alone signals seriousness. These are not symbolic charges meant to make a political statement. They carry real legal consequences, including potential prison time for a sitting president. This goes far beyond courtroom drama. A conviction would mean incarceration and a permanent criminal record. The stakes could not be higher. Legal analysts and constitutional scholars are debating intensely whether a sitting president can be prosecuted. The issue touches on separation of powers and executive authority, questions that have rarely been tested at this level. On one side, prosecution could be seen as weakening the presidency. On the other, it could reinforce a fundamental principle: no one is above the law. That tension makes this moment historically significant. The Supreme Court has never provided clear guidance on this exact situation. Trump's case could establish precedent for future administrations. Timing makes everything more complicated. During a second term, a president typically works to unify the party and push major policies forward: tariffs, immigration reforms, foreign policy initiatives. Instead, Trump faces courtroom battles while divisions within the GOP grow more visible. Internal disagreements are surfacing over foreign policy and leadership direction. Media allies who once offered strong support have shown signs of criticism. Party unity appears strained. 3 major consequences stand out. First, the immunity defense has been significantly weakened. Trump's legal team built their strategy around presidential immunity, even winning some favorable rulings in higher courts. But recent rulings clarified that immunity applies only to official presidential acts. Actions outside official duties, such as alleged falsification of records or campaign finance violations, do not qualify for protection. Once conduct falls outside official responsibilities, it becomes subject to ordinary criminal law. Second, the trial is scheduled for March 2026, roughly 30 days away. This is not a distant possibility. It is imminent. If it proceeds, the country could witness the unprecedented spectacle of a sitting president balancing executive responsibilities while facing felony charges in court. The logistical, political, and constitutional implications would be enormous. Third, the political fallout is accelerating. Every court appearance becomes headline news. Every witness and document is publicly dissected. Trump's ability to control the narrative is limited. Public reaction, particularly in swing states, appears sensitive to ongoing legal uncertainty. Early polling suggests voters are paying attention.
Of political untouchability. Courts signaling willingness to scrutinize a sitting president reshapes expectations about executive accountability. What happens next remains uncertain. Appeals could delay proceedings. Additional rulings could redefine the legal landscape. Negotiations could alter the course entirely. But one thing is evident. The legal shield once believed to be impenetrable has been seriously tested. This is not just another political controversy. It is a defining constitutional moment that may shape the balance of power and the limits of presidential immunity for generations to come. The story is still unfolding, and the next chapter begins with the upcoming trial.